Right, 5 things we learned from game week 1 in the Premier League. Let's kick it straight off. We've got to start with a newly promoted side, Ipswich. The 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday, they put in a very, very good shift. And despite the loss, I think one thing we've probably learned is that Ipswich aren't going down without a fight. Now, I think we all predicted them pretty much in the bottom 3, maybe even 20th. How impressed were you guys with that performance, and particularly the first half?
Well, the thing is, it's sort of like, if you can't get up for that game, what can you get up for in terms of football entirely? So really, when I sort of predicted Ipswich, it's not about these games. Sort of, at home to Liverpool, to City, the first 2 games, they're not the ones where you go, that's where they're going to get points and stuff like that. But they are showing, they're giving it a go. So I think they've done very well. However, you can't just sort of get up for the first game. I think towards the end of the game, they did fall off a bit. I don't know if that was due to sort of like stamina levels, sort of fitness levels, because we are only back 1 game into the from the season. But yeah, they didn't let themselves down, I think, even though they didn't get a goal, which I thought they might do. They didn't let themselves down, and if they play like that most weeks, then yeah, they probably should stay up, because you've got to remember, you're playing Liverpool, who are, I'd say, 3rd best team in the league. So yeah, why not play like that every week? You should do a lot better.
Yeah, better side in the first half as well. More shots on target than Liverpool. Reece, what did you think of Ipswich in particular?
Yeah, I thought they did exactly what we expected. Jamie's right. If they don't want to turn up for their first game of the season, then what's the point of even being there? I think that they put in some good performances, but realistically, in my opinion, Liverpool were by far the better team. I mean, Liverpool had 18 shots to Ipswich's 7. How many times did it almost go in for them? Liverpool could have been 4-5-0 on another day. But Liverpool showed their class, and we can't knock how good Liverpool's performance was. Slot really showed, what he's there to do. So it was really good. But I think for Ipswich, they weren't going to be disheartened whatever the result was, because it's important how you finish, how you start. They could go on a good run now and lose steam, like we see a lot with a lot of teams by the end of it. So I think Ipswich would be glad that they got this one out of the way, and their season can start, well, I suppose next week against City, but maybe after that, I don't know. But they've shown they're going to be a threat. They've got the players to be a threat, and Liverpool showed their class on the day.
Yeah, a lot of heart shown, and obviously what they won't want to do is be like the Luton, because we all said that about Luton last season, but they ultimately went down. A lot of heart and then ultimately losing. They don't want to be doing that. Let's move on. Number 2, lesson learned. Number 2, I think obviously it's very early to predict this. Is it finally time for Everton to be relegated? Now, I'm not going to say I told you after game week 1, but in my pre-season predictions, I did say that Everton are going to struggle. And I think I said at the time that, they keep knocking on the door. If you keep knocking on the door in relegation, like Hamburg in the German league, as we all know and love, it is going to happen eventually. And obviously a 3-0 loss at home in your opening game against an inexperienced manager is absolutely not ideal. What went wrong here for Everton?
I'll be honest, I don't think anything went right, really, for Everton. Yeah, like, I know what you sort of did say before pre-season, but I was looking at it thinking, you know what, without the points deduction, they finished like mid-table-ish. It's a terrible, terrible start. You remember, this is the last year at Goodison before they move. I think it's really unexpected that they went and got battered, really, and there was a 4th goal that got disallowed. So it wasn't like, it was like 3 goals and that was it. Brighton were better than Everton by a long stretch. And I don't really know what's going on with Everton. They have the problems with the ownership. He wants to sell, and they're struggling to get buyers across the line. But when you're selling Onana for sort of like 60 odd million, you're not really bringing proper players in. You're going to see a drop off. And it's probably too early to say whether they're going to go down, but they're going to be in the bottom half for sure. And if they play like that every week, they will be rock bottom, because everyone will beat them if they play like that every week.
Yeah, look, Everton losing their first game of the season is nothing new. You know, this team have put in some horror shows on the opening game of the season. They eventually stabilise. They'd be concerned. Fans would be concerned. I mean, they were outclassed by a Brighton team who I think a lot of us expect a drop-off over performance in recent years. It's not a huge shock that Brighton won. You know, again, you could probably expect them to run out of steam as the season goes on. So they need to record the victories now. They were a good side. I mean, you can't knock the quality of the goals in some aspects, and could have been even more. But this was a poor performance for Everton, who, again, if they're going to be fighting relegation, you need to be beating these teams. You know, Ashley Young had a disaster. It's not the first disaster we've seen for him in an Everton shirt. Probably will not be the last.
He's 39 years old. He's 39 years old, and that red card decision, you're 2-0 down, and you're pulling his shirt blatantly, not that close to the goal. So, like, the reason for him being in the squad is experience, but he's showing inexperience, if anything, with that decision. Why would you get a red card when you're 2-0 down? Like, they could have gone through and missed.
Yeah, he could have done better there. I think, you know, like, they talk about their penalty opportunity being overturned. It wasn't a penalty. I don't know why they're trying to cling to these sorts of things. This is supposed to be their last season in their new stadium, and they start off like that. I mean, flipping out, it's a disaster. Again, I expect them to bounce back. You know, Matoma had an amazing game. Let's be honest. I expect them to put. It's a hard one because I think Everton fans have got high expectations, but also maybe too high. Nothing wrong with being high expectations, but you know, this is something we've seen from Everton for a very, very long time now, and yeah, it was just not good enough for them, and I think they'd be disappointed for just how bad they were.
Yeah. All right. Lesson learned number 3. Nothing has changed at United. Do people agree with that or not? Because I'll kick things off. I said to you guys at the time the game is on. It was a very, very similar United performance to what we've seen several times last season. And it was a basketball match. I've watched a few basketball games at the Olympics, and this was even better than that. End-to-end football throughout the whole game. Both teams looking open. And it genuinely could have gone either way. But lo and behold, United get the winner. Arguably didn't deserve it. Maybe some United fans will disagree. What do you guys make of this? I know, Jamie, you said, you know, you look at their signings and have they really improved them? But the signing then goes and scores. So what do you guys make of United's sort of performance?
I would say basketball game is a bit of a stretch. If I went to a basketball game and they only scored 1 point, I'd be pretty cheesed off. This wasn't the Harlem Globetrotters. Let's be honest here. This was a Man United team who, the first game of the season is always cagey. The first game on TV is never a thriller. Very, very rarely a thriller. Nothing to be writing home about. You know, you just want to focus on getting off to a good start, and they did. We knew Fulham would make it tough for them. Everton definitely wouldn't have made it tough for them. Fulham made it tough for them. We knew they were going to make it tough for them, and Fulham knew they were going to go there with nothing to lose. It didn't matter if they lost that first game. You know, so for them, they were going to go for it, and they gave it a go. But Man U's quality come through in the end, and I think this is something we'll probably see a lot more of Man United of getting those late goals, getting that grit, showing that determination, and not chucking it away. You know, I think if you'd have offered them a 1-0 win at the start, of course you're going to take it. So, yeah, fair play to them. You know, Xerxes, great start for him. Good luck to him. But, yeah, got to take it. Got to take it, and now you start to build on it.
I think you've got to take it into sort of context as well. This is the 3rd season under Ten Hag now. And week in, week out, they don't have a plan for teams that are not going to dominate the ball. When United go and play City, when they go and play Liverpool, they look quite good because they're putting 10 men behind the ball, defending, and then using, you know, your pace of Rashford, the balls coming through from Bruno Fernandes. It's things like that. It works for United. But when they play a Fulham, when they play, you know, just sort of other weaker teams, not the top sides, United don't seem to know what to do with the ball. And that's what I think this always comes down to. And yes, Serki come through, scored on his debut. Remember, Martial did the same for United. They've had a few players that have come through. First game, goal, great. It looks brilliant. They're going to be the next superstar. And then they don't do anything. To me, it looks exactly like the team from last year for United. Nothing has progressed. And when your manager's into the third year and you're not seeing that progression, that's when I think you've got to ask questions. Because let's be honest, Arteta had a terrible first 2 seasons, but you saw the progression in the third. You saw the style of play that they want to do, and I don't see it at United. And okay, I'm going to be more, negative on them as a City fan, but I think this is some home truths that United fans need to know that, a 1-0 win. And by the way, the goal wasn't exactly like a brilliant chance that came in. He stuck his leg out and put it in the back of the net. By the way, it's fair play to him. But in terms of United, if that doesn't go in, because that could have gone anywhere, that could have just rolled into the keeper's hands, we would be looking at a 0-0 draw, and it would be like, what's going wrong at United again? Like, they would all be talking about it, but because they've won, it's kind of brushed it under the carpet. I personally just don't see the progression that they've done. And when you're managing into the third year, like I said, it's not good enough. It's not like United haven't spent money either. They have. I don't fully get what the rave is they've got about Ten Hag at the moment in this season, United fans.
It's only the trophies that have saved him. Like, let's be fair, it is the trophies. The league form has been pretty atrocious, and a lot of the performances have been atrocious. But again, this, we could have been talking about a game. I know it's coulda, woulda, shoulda, but we could have been talking about Fulham beating them on the opening day. There was a terrible, terrible chance where Pereira, it was 2-on-1, and he literally just passed it into Maguire, the most basic pass ever, and that probably would have been a goal. And it's like, I know that's not how football works, but on another day in this game, I do think Fulham could have nicked a win, and all the pressure would be on Ten Hag again. Get him out. So I think United are just a few losses away early on to the whole circus again.
I think
and everyone will want Ten Hag out.
I think that's all a bit harsh. I think this was a much better opening game performance than it was against Wolves last year. I think, like I said, they've got something to build on. I don't think this is that bad. You would take an opening win in any, regardless of it. There are a lot of positives. Yes, it wasn't stellar and this, champagne football, but it doesn't need to be. Fulham aren't going to let you play champagne football. They're lucky they're going to give you, Morrison's value apple juice kind of football. So don't worry too much about that. What's important is you get the job done, and that's what they've done.
Yeah.
And Xerxes, fair play to him, stick your leg out. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't need
Oh,
to
no,
try
it's a good goal.
really
Yeah, it's a really good goal.
Be there. Just be there. That's all they're asking of you. If he's going to do that, he's going to score goals.
Cool. Let's move on. Number 4. What did we learn from the weekend? Villa squad depth is pulling through. I'm going to try and claim it with another I told you so, but I did say Villa's squad is fantastic. And now we saw, again, it was a tightly contested game. We all said in our predictions it was quite tough to call with obviously West Ham, new manager, new signings. But if I'm not mistaken, Villa's winning goal was from all 3 of the subs. Maatsen to Ramsey to Duran. If that's not squad depth, I don't know what is. Emery obviously deserves a lot of credit for those substitutions. How impressive or how impressed were you guys with Villa? Was it a lucky win, or do you think that we are seeing now just how good their squad is?
They're a very good side. Look, Duran, was hungry like the wolf. He did a really good. Glad you appreciate that one. It's mad to think that this was the guy who was supposed to be signing for West Ham, and he's gone and scored against them. So if when football writes dramas, that's exactly what it does. Onana got off to a good start with what I thought was actually a magnificent header. This was an awful first game for Villa and for West Ham, to be fair, because it's a matter of, yes, it doesn't matter too much if you lose your first game, but if you're going to be probably competing in a similar position of the league with this team, you need to get the results, and they did well. They did well, and we can't knock it. Of course, it bears fruit later on in the season again, but Villa, you can't ask for a better start than that, can you? And you're right, their squad depth is something we haven't seen for a very long time. a lot of quality there. The fact that they can bring off players like Watkins and bring on Duran who scores for you, you know, is a really, really positive thing to have. And the Villa fans will be very, very excited about where they can go this season, you know.
I think you got to look at it sort of that first half performance, pretty much the first half, up until actually West Ham's goal. Villa were on top of that. They were in control. Looked like if anyone was going to score, it was going to be from them. And to be honest, I think they were a bit shocked with the West Ham goal, come from a penalty that probably shouldn't have been a penalty in the end, but they then, had to sit back. But you're away from home to West Ham. West Ham are going to have moments where they're in control. You can't expect it all your own way, especially away from home in these games. So I think they did very well, Villa. The goal that you talk about, the Onana one, though, well, I thought was great from Onana's point of view, but terrible from West Ham's point of view. Where Antonio just sort of went, "Oh, should I mark this, 6'6" Onana coming through? Nah, let's let him go," and he's got a free header. But that's not a discredit to Villa. That's just discredit to Antonio, to be perfectly honest. But Villa, I thought, in the second half, the subs that came on then did give more control to Villa and have that bit better attacking threat. I think Watkins had to come off. I don't think he's not had enough minutes in any minutes in pre-season. He played a little bit for England, but not even that many minutes. So to be fair, him coming off, showing that you got the quality. So their squad is looking quite good, to be honest, because Maatsen, he was in the Champions League final not long ago. So you've got that to bring off your bench. That's what they've needed. Okay, you saw them lose Douglas Luiz, but they brought in Onana. And that's something that sort of I was critical of Everton. They've not really replaced Onana in a way that sort of like Villa have with Luiz. They're not the same player, but you've brought someone in there to do a job. Villa, I had them a bit lower down. I think the Champions League games may catch up to them, but if their replacements are going to do this like they did against West Ham, then my prediction is going to be wrong because they're going to be able to cope just fine with it.
Yeah, they're looking good. And for West Ham, I don't think they'll look too much into it, to be honest. Like, as I said, new manager, not all their players started, so probably not the end of the world for them. Let's move on. So, point 5, last and absolutely not least, Man City and Arsenal, comfortable wins for them both. Is there going to be a challenger to either of these teams this season? Because we've touched on Liverpool, and again, Liverpool also won 2-0. But City and Arsenal, you've got to say, did look pretty good, or at least got good results. What did you guys make? Are you seeing any real threats to their dominance this season?
I think both showed why they're the top two teams still. And I think it's got to take someone to go on a very good run that Liverpool can do, for example. Villa showed definitely at times last season that they can do it, especially in their home form, that they can, beat the likes of City and Arsenal. But I really struggle to see it being anything but them two as the top two. If I start with sort of my own team, we've gone away to Chelsea. Chelsea's not the easiest place to go to, no matter sort of what kind of form they're in. I know there's turmoil. You don't know who's going to be playing out of the 46 squad players that you've got. So it's really hard to, do your team talk and set up tactics because you don't know who's going to be playing. You haven't got a clue. But I think City go in there with no Rodri in the squad. Walker didn't play. Stones didn't play. Foden had 45 minutes. Showed sort of, we've gone to a big 6 away game and won 2-0. Now, on other days, it may not have been 2-0 because Kovacic's goal was superb. I've seen people saying the keeper should save it. I don't know if the keeper got a hand to it and then pushed it on the post or it went. He did. Okay, then he probably should have saved it. From my angle, it just looked like it went off the post and in. So but in terms of that, it's still like City have shown full credit that even without all of our main players, we can still go and win a tough away day, and that's what you need. And City aren't meant to be at full whack yet. Pep said we need like 4 games before we're actually going to win 100%. So if a 2-0 away to Chelsea is not at full whack, I'm quite happy with how the rest of the season should go.
Yeah, I think again, just touching on City, I think like the reality is, and the difference is, you take your chances. Like, it's as simple as that, and that's what the big clubs need to be able to do to win the league, and that's what definitely we're lacking. And you see some of the other sort of mid-table teams are lacking. You've got to put the ball in the back of the net, and if you play bad, like, I don't think City were that good yesterday, but you know, I know we talk about XG and some people don't like it, but you've won 2-0 with an XG of under 1. Like, you shouldn't have scored a goal, but you scored 2 because Haaland scores 1 chance. Kovacic, it doesn't matter who it is, you know, Kovacic never scores and he comes out with that. But if it's not him, it's Foden. If it's not him, it's Bernardo Silva. Like, you consistently will outperform your XG because you've got the quality to do it. And I just think that's the difference between these top sides. Similar with Arsenal, maybe less so, but you just, even when you're not creating chances, you still find a way to put it in the back of the net. And I think that's the difference at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. If you compare it to Chelsea, definitely. I think with Arsenal, they are up there with they're getting the XG a lot. And then you've got the likes of Saka, Martinelli, Havertz, Rice, all pulling up with these goals. Trossard's another one. Yeah, and that's probably something that Chelsea do lack, especially at the moment. But I think you've also not got that consistency either. Because I think the only person who consistently played last season was Palmer. And he did pretty well for his sort of ways. But City and Arsenal have just got that consistency I think Chelsea don't have.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, like, looking at both games, I'll start from the biased perspective of Arsenal. I think Gary O'Neill paid us a very great compliment, saying that we keep clean sheets for fun. That was a really complimentary thing to say. One who, you know, used to see Arsenal throw away clean sheets quite on the regular years ago, but to see us be getting those, you know, is really invaluable. I know, of course, Man City's clean sheet record wasn't great last year, and they still won the league, so it goes to show it doesn't really always matter. But it's good to see that we're shutting teams out. Wolves didn't really pose much of a threat, and we kind of expect it. They've lost Neto, you know, and Kilman at the back, so we expect them to be there for the taking. But you want to be playing Wolves now than you do November time or March time, when they might have something to play for, or they've kicked into gear. It was important for us to win on Saturday because our run of games is not nice. You know, we've got Villa away next. You know, we've still got Spurs coming up in the next few weeks, and another one of the big clubs as well. So we had to get something on the board. It's better to be playing those big teams now again than it is later on. But it was a good result nonetheless. You know, we took Saka off, which is a big thing. We're not burning him out early. We can rest him and not worry about it. Havertz was on form as well. So a lot of positives to take, but you know, it all counts for nothing. I know I've sort of maybe been quite hypocritical in my thing here, but it means nothing if we go and lose to Villa at the weekend. But like I said, I'd rather play Villa now. From a City perspective, I think City have shown why they're champions. They weren't that great on Sunday, and yet they score a goal out of nothing. Like Kovacic, it was a great goal, even though Sanchez got a hand on it. You can't knock the finish. And to me, that's what Arsenal still don't have. You know, just City just put the game to bed like that. It was done. You know, we have to be in full throttle to win. And when we play bad, we can't win. City just turn up, you know, and they got 2 goals, which like I said, in some ways were out of nothing. That's their difference. That's their class. That's what they're good at. And that's why they're champions. So that's why they're still favourites to win this league. And I don't think Chelsea fans should be too disappointed. There's a lot of similarities to the Unai Emery start at Arsenal. He lost his first 2 games of the season as well. And one of those was against City, and the other one was against Chelsea, and then he clicked into gear. So plenty of positives for Chelsea to take, but it just, like I said, just goes to show City can appear on a game and come out with a result. That's what makes them so good.
So Reece, I know you obviously, if you haven't seen our Premier League table predictions, do check them out. But Reece, you did have, spoiler alert, Arsenal third. Do you still see that being the case?
No.
Or do you think
Yes,
City?
sorry. Yeah, I do. I still think it's going to stay as it is.
Okay.
I will stick to my guns like I have. So I still think Arsenal. It's a weird one. These run of games we've got coming up. Is it going to be we look back and gone if we'd have just got 1 point from there, or are we going to look back and go, that's what won it? Do you know what I mean? It's a strange one because it's too early to tell, but maybe you'll see how we feel in 6 weeks' time.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. That is the episode wrapped up. We've said our piece. Now we want to hear from you. Do you agree with our 5 lessons learned, or have we missed a trick? Let us know. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.